Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to our Sunday Bhagavatam class. So today we'll continue reading chapter 3 of Canto 1. Last week we were briefly reading about the Purusha avatars. There's one more shloka that we need to complete in that section, which is shlokas 1 to 5. After which from shlokas 6 to 29, obviously we'll not finish all those shlokas today. But from shloka 6 to shloka 29, Sutta Goswami will be speaking about the 22 different incarnations of the Lord, of which Sutta Goswami will say that Lord Krishna is the source of all of those avatars. So today we'll begin with shloka number 5. Etannanavataranam
Etannanavataranam
Nidhanam bijamavyayam
Nidhanam bijamavyayam
Yasyam shamshena srijyante
Yasyam shamshena srijyante
Devatiryannaradayah.
Devatiryannaradayah.
Word for word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Etat,
Etad,
this form,
this form,
nana,
nana,
multifarious,
multifarious,
avataranam,
avataranam,
of the incarnations,
of the incarnations,
nidhanam,
Nidhanam,
source,
source,
bijam,
Bijam,
seed,
seed,
avyayam,
Avyayam,
indestructible,
indestructible,
yasya,
Yasya,
whose,
whose,
amsha,
Amsha,
plenary portion,
planary portion,
amshena,
Amshena,
part of the plenary portion,
part of the plenary portion,
srijyante,
Srijyante,
create,
create,
deva,
Deva,
demigods,
demigods,
tiryak,
Tiryak,
animals,
animals,
nara adayah,
Nara Adayaha,
human beings and others.
human beings and others.
Translation. This form,
This form,
the second manifestation of the Purusha,
the second manifestation of the Purusha,
is the source
is the source
and indestructible seed
and indestructible seed
of multifarious incarnations
of multifarious incarnations
within the universe.
within the universe.
From the particles and portions of this form,
From the particles and portions of this form,
different living entities
different living entities
like demigods,
like demigods,
men and others
men and others
are created.
are created.
So Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Purusha, after creating innumerable universes in the Mahat Tattva, entered in each of them as the second Purusha, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. When he saw that within the universe there was only darkness and space, without a resting place, he filled half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. So now Karanodakshaya Vishnu has created all this Mahat Tattva. Now Garbhodakshaya Vishnu has to enter into each of the Brahmandas. He has to find a place for him to rest. So he fills the Brahmanda with water from his own perspiration and then he lays down on it. This water is called Garbhodaka. Then from his navel, the stem of the lotus flower sprouted, and on the flower petals, the birth of Brahma, or the master engineer of the universal plan, took place. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and the Lord himself took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. So after Garbhodakshai, Vishnu enters each Brahmanda, he hands over the responsibility to his own Jivatma son called Brahma to do the secondary creation. After Brahma does the secondary creation, this Garbhodakshai Vishnu himself maintains each of the Brahmandas. Brahma was generated from Rajoguna of Prakriti, or the mode of passion in nature, and Vishnu became the Lord of the mode of goodness. Vishnu, being transcendental to all the modes, is always aloof from materialistic affection. This has already been explained. From Brahma, there is Rudra, Shiva, who is in charge of the mode of ignorance or darkness. He destroys the whole creation by the will of the Lord. Therefore, all three, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are incarnations of the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. From Brahma, the other demigods like Daksha, Marichi, Manu, and many others become incarnated to generate living entities within the universe. Lord Krishna also references this briefly in one of the shlokas in Bhagavad Gita. How ultimately he is the source of everything, that the demigods come from him, the rishis come from him, the manus come from him. This Garbhodakashai Vishnu is glorified in the Vedas in the hymns of Garbhastuti, which begin with the description of the Lord as having thousands of heads, etc. The Garbhodakashai Vishnu is the Lord of the universe. And although he appears to be lying within the universe, he is always transcendental. So the Vishnu Tattvas never come in contact with material nature. They always stay transcendental. But when this Vishnu has to interact with material nature or Prakriti, that Vishnu gets, when that Vishnu comes in contact with material nature, he is no longer Vishnu, he becomes Shiva. So in that sense, they say, the common understanding in our culture is that there is no difference between Vishnu and Shiva. But there is. They are one and the same, yet they are different. So if Vishnu is milk, Shiva is curd. Milk can be converted to curd, but curd cannot become milk. It's a one-way street. Therefore, although curd comes from milk, it is not the same as milk. So Shiva comes from contact with material nature, but he's not the same as Vishnu. But at the same time, although Lord Brahma is considered a Jivatma, Lord Shiva is neither a Jivatma nor a personality of Godhead. Therefore, there is a separate Tattva called the Shiva Tattva. He cannot be considered a Jivatma, yet he cannot be considered a complete personality of Godhead either, because his role is different. This also has already been explained. The Vishnu, who is the plenary portion of the Garbhodakashai Vishnu, is the super soul of the universal life. Now, to maintain each Jivatma and every single atom within each of the Brahmanda, this Garbhodakashai Vishnu subsequently expands as Kshirodakashai Vishnu. So, the three features of the original Purusha are thus understood, and all the incarnations within the universe are emanations from this Kshirodakashai Vishnu. So first, Brahma and Shiva come from Vishnu. Now, all of the other incarnations come from Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. They don't come from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu role is done. He produces Brahma and Shiva comes into being when the glance happens and contact happens with Prakriti. After that, the incarnations come from Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. In different millennia, there are different incarnations and they are innumerable. Although some of them are very prominent, such as Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Rama, Nrisimha, Vamana, and many others. These incarnations are called Leela incarnations. Then there are qualitative incarnations such as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva or Rudra, who take charge of the different modes of material nature. The Gunavatars are for Sattvagun, it's Lord Vishnu. For Rajagun, it is Brahmaji. And for Tamogun, it is Lord Shiva. Lord Vishnu is non-different from the personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is in the marginal position between the personality of Godhead and the living entities or jivas. So Prabhupada is clearly explaining what we just stated right now, that Lord Shiva falls in between the personality of Godhead and Jiva. He's neither Jiva nor is he personality of Godhead. Therefore, there is a separate tattva called the Shiva tattva. Brahma is always a Jiva tattva. That means Brahma is always a Jiva. Sometimes in different rulership of different manus, if there is no Jivatma who has qualified himself to take the post of Brahma, then Lord Vishnu himself becomes Brahma. In some cases, Lord Shiva becomes Brahma. Sometimes Lord Vishnu becomes Brahma and Indra if there are no Jivatmas to occupy those posts. So Brahma is always a Jiva Tattva. The highest pious living being or the greatest devotee of the Lord is empowered with the potency of the Lord for creation, and he is called Brahma. So Brahma is accepted to be one of the greatest devotees of the Lord. And he is empowered to do the Visarga or the secondary creation. His power is like the power of the sun reflected in valuable stones and jewels. That means that power is sourced from Vishnu. Brahma does not have this power on his own. When there is no such living being to take charge of the post of Brahma, the Lord himself becomes a Brahma and takes charge of the post. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living being. He is the plenary portion of the Lord. But because Lord Shiva is in direct touch with material nature, he is not exactly in the same transcendental position as Lord Vishnu. So Lord Shiva is also an expansion of Lord Vishnu. The difference is like that between milk and curd. Curd is nothing but milk, and yet it cannot be used in place of milk. The next incarnations are the Manus. Within 1 day's duration of the life of Brahma, which is calculated by our solar year as 4.3 million times 1,000 years. So Brahma's 1 day is 1,000 Chaturyugas. That will make it 4.3 billion Earth years. So in that 12 hours of Brahma, there are 14 Manus. So if Brahma's 1 month is 30 days, there are 420 Manus in 1 month of Brahma. And if Brahma's 1 year is equivalent to say 365 days, then that would make it 5,040 Manus in 1 year of Brahma. And since Brahma lives for 100 years of his age, therefore there are 5,040 times 100 or 5,04,000 Manus in the duration of Brahma's life. So Prabhupada has done very nice mathematical calculation to help us understand how these things are inconceivable for us. So during Brahma's lifetime, he sees more than 5 lakh different Manus. There are innumerable universes with one Brahma in each of them. And all of them are created and annihilated during the breathing time of the Purusha. So if Brahma lives for 311 trillion 40 billion earth years, that lifespan of Brahma is a millisecond for Lord Vishnu. By the time Vishnu breathes out and breathes in, Brahma's life is over. So Brahma lives as long as Vishnu takes one breath. Therefore, one can simply imagine how many millions of Manus there are during one breath of the Purusha. Remember, in each Brahmanda, this is going on. In each Brahmanda, there is a Brahma. In each Brahmanda, there are Manus. And during the reign of each Manu, the avatars are also happening. The Manus who are prominent within this universe are as follows. Yajna as Swayambhuva Manu, Vibhu as Swarochisha Manu, Satyasena as Uttama Manu, Hari as Tamasa Manu, Vaikuntha as Raivata Manu, Ajita as Chakshusha Manu, Vamana as Vaivasvata Manu. Our current age in which we are living is under the rulership of Vaivasvata Manu. Sarvabhauma as Savarni Manu, Rishabha as Daksha Savarni Manu, Vishvaksena as Brahma Savarni Manu, Dharma Setu as Dharma Savarni Manu, Sudhama as Rudra Savarni Manu, Yogeshwara as Deva Savarni Manu, and Brihad Bhanu as Indra Savarni Manu. These are the names of one set of 14 Manus covering 4.3 billion solar years as described above. Then there are the Yuga avatars. So there is the Guna avatars, there is the Leela avatars, there is the Purusha avatars, and now we're coming to the Yuga avatars. Then there are the Yuga avatars or the incarnations of the millennia. The Yugas are known as Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The incarnations of each Yuga are of different color. The colors are white, red, black, and yellow. In the Dwapara Yuga, Lord Krishna in black color appeared, and in the Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya in yellow color appeared. So all the incarnations of the Lord are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. There is no scope for an impostor to become an incarnation, for an incarnation must be mentioned in the Shastras. So a lot of people will ask, why do you all think that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation or of Lord Krishna? Because it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam. It's mentioned in other Puranas too. It's also mentioned in the Vishnu Sahasranam. An incarnation does not declare himself to be an incarnation of the Lord, but great sages agree by the symptoms mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The features of the incarnations and the particular type of mission which he has to execute are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Apart from the direct incarnations, there are innumerable empowered incarnations. So now there is a different category of incarnations where you get special power. Prabhupada is going to give examples here. They are also mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Such incarnations are directly as well as indirectly empowered. When they are directly empowered, they are called incarnations. But when they are indirectly empowered, they are called vibhutis. Directly empowered incarnations are the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Shesha, Ananta, etc. As far as vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter, which is chapter 10. And for all these different types of incarnations, the fountainhead is the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So, the fountainhead of some of the incarnations is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, but since Kshirodakashayi Vishnu also comes from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, ultimately the incarnations are also from Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. That brings us to shloka number 6 of chapter 3. स एव प्रथमं देवः
स एव प्रथमं देवः
कौमारं सर्गमाश्रितः
कौमारं सर्गमाश्रितः
चचार दुश्चरं ब्रह्मा
चचार दुश्चरं ब्रह्मा
ब्रह्मचर्यम् अखण्डितम्
ब्रह्मचर्यम् अखण्डितम्
सः
सः
that
that
eva
eva certainly
prathamam
prathamam
first devaha supreme lord
kaumaram
named the kumaras
unmarried sargam
creation ashritaha under chachara performed dushcharam very difficult to do Brahma in the order of Brahman brahmacharyam under discipline to realize the absolute Brahman akhanditam unbroken. Translation. First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were the 4 unmarried sons of Brahma. The Kumaras, who being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. So Prabhupada writes in the Purport, the creation of the material world is effected, maintained, and then again annihilated at certain intervals. So there are different names of the creations in terms of the particular types of Brahma, the father of the living beings in the creation. The Kumaras, as above mentioned, appeared in the Kaumara creation of the material world. And to teach us the process of Brahman realization, they underwent a severe type of disciplinary action as bachelors. These Kumaras are empowered incarnations. And before executing the severe type of disciplinary actions, all of them became qualified Brahmanas. This example suggests that one must first acquire the qualifications of a Brahmana, not simply by birth, but also by quality. And then one can undergo the process of Brahman realization. So, in the beginning of creation, what was the first incarnation? The 4 unmarried sons of Brahma. So, when Brahma creates these 4 sons through his knowledge potency, he requests his 4 sons to start the process of procreation. Their job was to make sure that the Brahmanda was inhabited with multiple Jivatmas. But the sons refused, angering Brahma, and that's when, from out of anger, from his forehead comes Rudra. So the first things the Kumaras do is they disobey their father. And they say, no, we don't want grasta life. We want to be celibate. So we want to be Naishtika brahmacharis. And therefore, they undergo severe austerities just so they could understand the absolute truth. So that takes us to the second incarnation in shloka number 7. Okay. Dvitiyam tu bhavayasya
द्वितीयं तु भवायास्य
rasatalagatam mahim
रसातलगतां महीम्
uddharishyan upadatta
उद्धरिष्यन्नुपादत्त
yajneshya saukaram vapuh.
यज्ञेशः सौकरं वपुः
Dvitiyam,
द्वितीयं
the second,
the second
two,
भट्
but
भट्
bhavaya,
भवाय
for the welfare,
for the welfare
asya,
अस्य
of this earth,
of this earth
rasatala,
रसातल
of the lowest region,
of the lowest region
gatam,
Gatham
having gone,
having gone
mahim,
Mahim
the
earth
uddharishyan,
Uddharishyan
lifting,
lifting
upadatta,
Upadatta
established,
established
yajneshaha,
Yajneshaha
the proprietor or the supreme enjoyer,
the proprietor or the supreme enjoyer
saukaram,
Saukaram
hoggish,
hoggish
vapuhu,
Vapuhu
incarnation.
incarnation
Translation: the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices
the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices
accepted the incarnation of a boar,
accepted the incarnation of a boar
the second incarnation,
the second incarnation
and for the welfare of the earth,
and for the welfare of the earth
he lifted the earth
he lifted the earth
from the nether regions of the universe.
from the nether regions of the universe.
So, when the earth had sunk into the waters, then the Lord has to come as Shweta Varaha to lift Bhumi Devi. So this Shweta Varaha does not kill Hiranyaksh. There is another Varaha incarnation that is called Neela Varaha. It is that Varaha that actually kills Hiranyaksh. So there are different Varaha incarnations also for different purposes. Prabhupada writes, the indication is that for each and every incarnation of the personality of Godhead, the particular function executed is also mentioned. That means each incarnation has a specific purpose. There cannot be any incarnation without a particular function, and such functions are always extraordinary. They are impossible for any living being to perform. The incarnation of the boar was to take the earth out of Pluto's region of filthy matter. Picking up something from a filthy place is done by a boar. And the all-powerful personality of Godhead displayed this wonder to the asuras who had hidden the earth in such a filthy place. There is nothing impossible for the personality of Godhead, and although he played the part of a boar, by the devotees he is worshipped, staying always in transcendence. So this particular Varaha incarnation came for a specific purpose, which is to save Bhumi Devi. That brings us to the next one, which is in Shloka 8. Tritiyam Rishi Sargam Vai
Tritiyam Rishi Sargam Vai
Devarshitvam Upetyasaha
Devarshitvam Upetyasaha
Tantram Satvatam Achashta
Tantram Satvatamachashta
Naishkarmyam Karmanam Yataha.
Naishkarmyam Karmanam Yataha.
Tritiyam,
Tritiyam,
the third one.
the third one.
Rishi Sargam,
Rishi Sargam,
the millennium of the rishis.
the millennium of the rishis.
Why?
Why?
Certainly.
Certainly.
Devarshitvam,
Devarshitvam,
incarnation of the rishi amongst the demigods.
incarnation of the rishi amongst the demigods.
Upetya,
Upetya,
having accepted.
having accepted.
Saha,
Saha,
he.
Tantram,
Exposition of the Vedas.
exposition of the Vedas.
Satvatam,
Satvatam,
which is especially meant for devotional service.
which is especially meant for devotional service.
Achashta,
Achashta,
collected.
collected.
Naishkarmyam,
Naishkarmyam,
non-fruitive.
non-fruitive.
Karmanam,
Karmanam,
of work.
of work.
Yataha,
Yataha,
from which.
from which.
Translation. In the millennium of the rishis,
In the millennium of the rishis,
the personality of Godhead
the personality of Godhead
accepted the third empowered incarnation
accepted the third empowered incarnation
in the form of Devarshi Narada,
in the form of Devarshi Narada,
who is a great sage among the demigods.
who is a great sage among the demigods.
He collected expositions of the Vedas
He collected expositions of the Vedas
which deal with devotional service
which deal with devotional service
and which inspire non-fruitive action.
and which inspire non-fruitive action.
Prabhupada writes in the purport, the great Rishi Narada, who is an empowered incarnation of the personality of Godhead, propagates devotional service all over the universe. So Narada Muni is the intergalactic traveling sannyasi. All great devotees of the Lord, all over the universe and in different planets and species of life, are his disciples. You can think of Dhruva Maharaj, you can think of Rithu Maharaj, you can think of Prahlad Maharaj, who are all his disciples. Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is also one of his disciples. Narada is the author of Narada Pancharatra, which is the exposition of the Vedas, particularly for the devotional service of the Lord. So in ISKCON, we follow the Narada Pancharatra when in the way in which we worship the deities. This Narada Pancharatra trains the karmis or the fruitive workers to achieve liberation from the bondage of fruitive work. The conditioned souls are mostly attracted by fruitive work because they want to enjoy life by the sweat of their own brows. The whole universe is full of fruitive workers in all species of life. The fruitive works include all kinds of economic development plans. But the law of nature provides that every action has its resultant reaction, and the performer of the work is bound up by such reactions. So you are bound by your good deeds, you are also bound by your bad deeds. The reaction of good work is comparative material prosperity, which means if you accumulate a lot of punya, you will enjoy more wealth, more beauty, more intelligence, more IQ. Whereas the reaction of bad work is comparative material distress. That means if you accumulate too much papa, then your distress will be more severe. But material conditions, either in so-called happiness or in so-called distress, are all meant ultimately for distress only. So even your so-called happiness is actually distress. Why is it distress? Because you're still stuck in this jail. You've not figured out that you're in the jail cell and you need to get out of here. So just because you have a TV in your jail cell, maybe some diamond earrings inside that jail cell, you are thinking, oh, I'm so happy. But that happiness is also ultimately distress when you look at it from a spiritual perspective. Foolish materialists have no information of how to obtain eternal happiness in the unconditional state. Sri Narada informs these foolish fruitive workers how to realize the reality of happiness. So Sri Narada Muni goes around traveling and he selects his Jivatmas and tells them, hey, you may want to pay attention to something else instead of what you're preoccupied with your karma activities. He gives direction to the diseased men of the world how one's present engagement can lead one to the path of spiritual emancipation. The physician directs the patient to take treated milk in the form of curd for his sufferings from indigestion due to his taking another milk preparation. Prabhupada very frequently uses this particular analogy. Sometimes having milk items causes a stomach upset. It's that same milk that is treated and turned into curd that is used to actually cure the stomach upset. So the cause of the disease and the remedy of the disease may be the same, but it must be treated by an expert physician like Narada. The Bhagavad Gita also gives the same solution of serving the Lord by the fruits of one's labor. So you may think, I'm working so hard. I have to work hard. I have to make a living. I have to take care of my family members. But by doing the work, if you add Krishna into the equation, then it becomes curds. It will cure your stomach upset of trying to acquire too many material things. So Prabhupada writes, that will lead one to the path of Naishkarmya or liberation, which brings us to the 9th shloka, where we're going to look at the 4th incarnation. Turye dharma kala sarge
तुर्ये धर्मकला सर्गे
Nara Narayana Vrishi
नरनारायणा वृषि
Bhutvatmopasamopetam
भूत्वात्मोपशमोपेतम्
Akarot Duscharam Tapaha.
अकरो दुश्चरं तपः
Turye,
तुर्ये
in the 4th of the line.
in the 4th of the line.
Dharma Kala,
Dharmakala,
wife of Dharmaraja.
wife of Dharmaraja.
Sarge,
Sarge,
being born of.
being born of.
Nara Narayana,
Nara Narayana,
named Nara and Narayana.
named Nara and Narayana.
Rishi,
Rishi,
sages.
sages.
Bhutva,
Bhutva,
becoming.
becoming.
Atma Upashama,
Atma Upashama,
controlling the senses.
controlling the senses.
Upetam,
Upetam,
for achievement of.
for achievement of.
Akarot,
Akarot,
undertook.
undertook.
Duscharam,
Dushcharam,
very strenuous.
very strenuous.
Tapaha,
Tapaha,
penance.
penance.
Translation. In the 4th incarnation,
In the 4th incarnation,
the Lord became Nara and Narayana.
the Lord became Nara and Narayana,
the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma.
the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma.
Thus he undertook severe and exemplary penances
Thus he undertook severe and exemplary penances
to control the senses.
to control the senses.
Prabhupada is writing, as King Rishabha advised his sons, tapasya or voluntary acceptance of penance for realization of the transcendence is the only duty of the human being. It was so done by the Lord himself in an exemplary manner to teach us. So Prabhupada is explaining the purpose of human life is to voluntarily accept some tapasya so that we can get closer to the Lord. And so therefore the Lord himself comes to show us how it is done as Naranayana Rishi. The Lord is very kind to the forgetful souls. He therefore comes himself and leaves behind necessary instructions and also sends his good sons as representatives to call all the conditioned souls back to Godhead. Recently, within the memory of everyone, Lord Chaitanya also appeared for the same purpose, to show special favor to fallen souls of this age of iron industry. The incarnation of Narayana is worshipped still at Badri Narayana on the range of the Himalayas. So we'll cover one more shloka, which is shloka number 10. Panchamah Kapilo Nama
Panchamah Kapilo Nama
Siddheshah Kala Viplutam
Siddhesha Kala Viplutam
Provacha Suraye Sankhyam
Provacha Suraye Sankhyam
Tattvagrama Vinirnayam.
Tattvagrama Vinirnayam.
Panchamaha,
Panchamaha,
the fifth one.
the fifth one.
Kapilaha,
Kapilaha,
Kapila.
Kapila.
Nama,
Nama,
of the name.
of the name.
Siddheshaha,
Siddheshaha,
the foremost amongst the perfect.
the foremost amongst the perfect.
Kala,
Kala,
time.
time.
Viplutam,
Viplutam,
lost.
lost.
Provacha,
Provacha,
said.
said.
Asuraye,
Asuraye,
unto the Brahmana named Asuri.
unto the Brahmana named Asuri.
Sankhyam,
Sankyam,
metaphysics.
metaphysics.
Tattvagrama,
Tattvagrama,
the sum total of the creative elements.
the sum total of the creative elements.
Vinirnayam,
Vinirnayam,
exposition.
exposition.
Translation. The fifth incarnation,
The fifth incarnation,
named Lord Kapila,
named Lord Kapila,
is foremost among perfected beings.
is foremost amongst perfected beings.
He gave an exposition
He gave an exposition
of the creative elements
of the creative elements
and metaphysics
and metaphysics
to Asuri Brahmana,
to Asuri Brahmana,
for in the course of time,
for in course of time
this knowledge had been lost.
this knowledge had been lost.
Prabhupada writes, the sum total of the creative elements is 24 in all. Each and every one of them is explicitly explained in the system of Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy is generally called metaphysics by the European scholars. The etymological meaning of Sankhya is that which explains very lucidly by analysis of the material elements. This was done for the first time by Lord Kapila, who is said herein to be the fifth in the line of incarnations. So we'll come to the canto where Kapila is teaching the Sankhya philosophy to his own mother. So this is not the Kapila who propagates atheist philosophy. There is one more Kapila who says everything is just nothing. So he propagates and writes some uh, explanations of how nothing actually exists. But this is not that same Kapila. This is the incarnation. This is the fifth incarnation of the Lord. So we have another 19, 20 shlokas to go to look at the other incarnations of the Lord, which we will do next week. But the incarnations of the Lord are being explained, and we can go back to the diagram that shows the various kinds of incarnations. So far we've looked at the Guna avatars, the Purusha avatars, the Leela avatars, the empowered avatars, the directly empowered and the indirectly empowered amshas of the Lord. So there are so many different varieties of avatars. It's not all the same. So there is one particular shloka, I think the shloka in which Suta Goswami talks about Krishna and Balaram, and he refers to both of them as Bhagavan. So up until now, none of the shlokas Suta Goswami is going to use the word Bhagavan, except in that one shloka, which is considered the master thesis for Bhagavatam for Vaishnavas. That shloka we'll come to, perhaps not next week, maybe the following week, I don't know. But in that particular purport, Prabhupada has explained in detail the different kinds of avatars, how different avatars get different kinds of powers. They come for a specific purpose. They exhibit a particular potency. So not all avatars are the same, nor are they equal, except for the main, who is called Avatari. That Avatari, the source of all incarnations, is Krishna. As a matter of fact, the title of this entire third chapter is Krishna is the source of all incarnations.